sharing and teaching because you were one of the first who were explaining shit and giving props to the people who did it. Mm-hmm. And usually it's not the case. Usually people just show you moves. They can tell you some stories, but they rarely give props like you did.
Mm-hmm. And well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, like that's part of the tradition of New York City. Like as a kid, when I grew up, the first things that I learned and the people that shared it with me, it seemed like it was a natural rule to give respect to where you learned it from. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, this brother right here, these people right here, these crews right here, so from the beginning at 12 years old, I understood that was it was like a rule, but it wasn't like, a forced rule. It felt good to be like, yeah, man, this is where I saw this, or this brother or sister, enlightened me with this, and when we started doing interviews at a very young age with Rocksteady, man, we always, if you look at those interviews, we always gave props to the people before us. So it's an important thing for hip hop culture.
Yeah. And actually, for me, it helps as a student, it helps me to picture the scene, mm-hmm. to understand who did what and the sense of the movements. And actually, it reminds me that it was the first time that I heard about the explanation of the baby freeze. He mm-hmm. told us that at first it was some kind of a burn. Mm-hmm. And
right. Okay. Well, we're talking about many years ago.
Okay, first of all.
And every person evolves, and I've changed, and I've looked at and listened to things I've said, and we always continue to evolve and change. What I could say, first of all, that explanation was just brought up recently in a question with me by email a couple of weeks ago about the baby. Okay. Oh, it was actually intact from Ukraine, and he was like, "Yo, Kenny, I remember you were talking about the baby freeze." So what I explained that you listened to is it stays the same. The baby freeze. Initially, for me as a young person, to see that happen first, it wasn't on behalf of a physical movement. It was an expression of someone acting like a baby. When you think about a baby freeze, you think if you say the word baby, right, and you look at a baby's curled up. It's not walking. It's not crawling. It's just there. You know what I'm saying? It's where it is. And when Frosty Freeze used to do the baby freeze, he used to put his thumb in his mouth like a baby, like babies, and little children. So it was more of a almost theatrical expression when you would see that happen. It wasn't a physical kind of dope, challenging physical thing. The evolution of the baby became more, it started going up into the air. And the main thing that you would see is the legs. The legs would
switching
below the knees. You would see this, like a baby goes, like a baby. Yeah. So I mean, it's I'm trying to explain it without physically being able to.
I know.
But ultimately, it's the first idea that I had of the baby was a reaction to someone bugging out like that. It's like, oh shit, yo, look, he's acting like a baby. That's the reaction an audience will get. So that is the beginning that I remember. And then, of course, when, with breaking, I would see the legs moving in the hand position where you hold your body. So, and then, then I saw it more advanced, in my first 3 years of breaking, and I adapted, like you picked everything up. But I remember the first baby freeze and the baby as being a sort of a theatrical expression.
Yeah. You're nothing. You're a baby compared to me. Like you are doing something. It was kind of.
Well, you can act like you're rowing a boat. You can be on the floor without a boat and without something in your hands. And if you make this expression, people see that you're rowing a boat. So that's kind of the more description of what I'm saying when it comes to acting like a baby. Not that he didn't really know anything, but he's just acting like a baby. It's like you're performing in a sense. And the audience got it. They're like, oh, that the baby, he's acting like a baby.
Yeah, more man. It just I'm talking about all this because there's some stuff that bothers me a little bit in the dance. Actually, I feel that the b-boys lost a little bit the sense of the burns, and I don't see that many burns in their dance, and I see more gestures while people are dancing, The other guys will be, hey, you did this both twice, and or you're not in the music, or you're biting, and I mean shit like this for me makes me feel that the guy who's doing that and is not dancing is insecure. I don't know how you see that, but
well, I mean, that's what you pick up and you receive the energies you're getting. That's acceptable. You have the right to really accept any energy and opinionate yourself on it. Maybe the person is insecure, or maybe they're just, trying to be a part of what everybody does. And that's the difference. It's like, there's things that B-boys and B-girls should do when you dance, right? There's particular things that you should do. The rules are there. But if you felt like someone was, if it was more like it wasn't translating to you, that's understandable. Sometimes I see people do gestures that everybody does, and I'm like, you're just doing that to do it.
Yeah.
But when you do it when you have emotion behind what you're doing, that's when it translates. That's when you're feeling it. You're feeling somebody. And no matter what you can do physically, we all can feel people's energy when they dance, even before they break. Especially when the top rock before it. So, and they don't even have to be that great at breaking, but if you feel them already, when they go down, you still feel them, because there's something emotional and personal coming from behind their physical body. So, that's the whole key. And a lot of beginners, I mean, I'm sure I probably, was trying to do things that people did when I began, but, it's about finding yourself. And I think that some of these people that you feel that way with, they're still trying to find who they are. So they're kind of acting it out just to please the camera or please the audience. That might be the issue.
Yeah, I think it's probably that there's like a lot of ways of using it. I'm pretty sure that there is like different reasons why some people are doing it. But the thing is that I saw some stuff who doesn't make any sense for me so many times that I'm getting. For example, how many times you saw people, when they need to start it, and they go, "Oh, you go first," and the guy doesn't go first, and the guy who's asking to the other one to go first is going to be like, "You scared?" I'm like, "What the fuck is this? You are telling to the other guy who doesn't want to start that he scares, but you don't go to?"
Well, that's the difference in contest. You have to understand that mentality is a contest mentality. That's a strategic, when you're talking about, okay, you got 3 rounds to beat somebody. The only time you have 3 times only to win. Some people use that as a strategic approach to see what someone does first. Now, that's the difference between a contest and a circle. The circle is like, there's no rule. Like the dance circle, and that's the evolution of where we're at right now. Like there's a lot of B-boys and B-girls that don't know how to be a part of an actual circle. There's a lot of people that the mentality is a contest mentality.
Yeah. And
I get it. It's cool. It's an evolution. I don't hate it. I just understand it. I'm a judge to a lot of these competitions, so I understand it. But when it's all said and done, when it comes to confidence, it's like you don't have to be told when to go. When you're dope, you're going to go out and kill. You're going to smash it. You're going to just attack because you're confident. So now that may be the issue. But once again, when you have an opponent standing in front of you that is really, really good, like that's the internet now. Like you can go to another country, and because the internet exists, you can see, you already saw this person before you met them. You know what they have. That's once again the difference between a circle where you just run in a circle and you don't know who's who. But when you know your opponent is really good, it could be a strategic thing to go second.
Of course.
So there's 2 sides of that coin.
Of course.
There's 2 sides.
Of course. My point is strategy. When it comes to strategy, I understand totally that is sometimes useful for you if the other guy goes first. Totally understandable. The thing as a street cat, by the way I was raised, those kind of like you scared, and man, it doesn't match with my values. But yeah, and once again, the thing is I was telling all this because of the burns that I don't see as much in the dance, and I feel that a lot of people does moves, but they don't know the meaning of it.
Yeah, that's true. And I agree. And it's hard because a lot of people don't have the history. They don't have historians and people to explain this to them in different places. In New York, when we were coming up, everybody understood language because it was just being born. And, there was no conversation or like, oh, let's, make sure that we use the terminology correctly. We were little kids. So a lot of these languages were easy to adapt to right away because you wanted to be down. You wanted to be a part of this stuff. So you were hip to it. So, but it's understandable when people do things just to do them. What I would say, and this is really important, this is one part of the evolution that sometimes is, for me, it's crazy to look at, to where a lot of terminologies and ways that we describe things and words of the culture and words of the b-boy tradition and b-girl tradition have changed, and ideas have changed, and certain people put languages out. So what I'm referring to is the word burns. Now, burns, the burn word actually comes from rocking.
Rocking, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a b-boy. A lot of b-boys and b-girls around the world now, they say, where your burns at? And when I hear it as a person that started a long time ago, I kind of be like, well,
yeah,
okay, cool.
Yeah, it's not correct.
I don't make it an argument. I let people do it. But
yeah.
I just wanted to say that because, see, the whole thing burns, we come from a freeze perspective. If you danced and you top rocked out to somebody and your face and your mind state, you already said you were happy or you were angry or you were, however you felt in your face before you danced, confident, whatever it was. And within your moves, you might grab your
yeah.
private part.
You can say a dick.
That's a diss. You might pow.
Yeah, exactly.
That shit became, that's actually body language, bro. That's not hip hop. Like grabbing your dick.
Okay.
And just being like, that's street language type shit. That's that old macho shit.
Yeah, but
from back in the day.
What do you call that?
Well, it's disrespectful.
In breaking. No, but yeah,
it's just a gesture. It's a gesture.
It's not a burn for you in breaking?
No,
not a burn.
Not in breaking. No,
okay.
No, but I don't use that terminology. That's not from where I come from. That's not the words we said. Those words happened in the 90s. That shit happened in the late 90s. People started saying burns. And it was because some, look, the rocking and the breaking merged in the 90s in a sense, again, with certain individuals. And a lot of people were excited. So they weren't interested in being correct politically or, historically, right? Mm-hmm. People started saying that expression. And I was like, why y'all saying that for? That shit ain't right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that comes from rocking, but in breaking, I wrote an article called Being Served or Being Burnt. I wrote this article in, long time ago. I wrote this in 93 or 94. And I have it somewhere, and it might be even online. And when you say you burned somebody is when you destroyed them in the breaking battle. When you said burned, you said you got burned, that he burned them. That's what I remember growing up. Like if you just you would just destroy an opponent, that opponent got burned. Now you can get served. You got served. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yo, he served you.
Yeah.
That's a long battle that goes and it's even, but at the end, he beat you, you got served. But if you got burned, you got destroyed. You got destroyed so bad that you couldn't even match your opponent's moves. He burned you. And that's most of the times where the crowd will be like, looking at the other dude like, yo, give up already, bro. You got burned already. He burned you. So that's the finale in breaking terminology for me. So with burns and rock, you know what I'm saying? You could take someone, you could put them on the ground, you could step on them, you could throw them pop, you could shoot them pop. Those are burns. You know what I'm saying? That's
exactly.
I remember. That's what I remember.
But you were saying that it was in the 90s that those kind of confusion happened.
Yes.
But you guys were doing already up rocking in Beat Street and stuff, right?
Yeah, beforehand. Yeah, we were rocking all the time. We always rocked. There's no like rocking disappeared shit. These fucking idiots that are talking all this shit online saying rocking disappeared and this one person came back and said that's bullshit. If you look at the history, you look at the periodicals and you look at the videos, we were always rocking. All right. It's just that we weren't rocking the way they wanted us to rock. And that's the beauty is that we rocked the way we wanted to rock and we were rocking. That's what people don't get. It's like people hate on people if you don't look a specific way when you rock. But rocking is freestyle. You know what I'm saying? You have to have the elements. You have to have your burns and your jerks or whatever you want to do. But it's freestyle. That's what separates people from each other. That's why the scene now, everybody looks the same when they rock. Because
True.
they looking at someone specific and they admiring them. But the goal and the art of that, I think, is to refine yourself, and with breaking too. You know, so yeah, you know, like people rocking and doing their thing. That shit was happening, bro. That's not a new thing that came back around. But in the 90s, it did get more attention, you know, because some of the older dancers, you know, popped in and out and they would do their thing, and people, you know, liked it, and people started adapting to it more.
Man, it reminds me something that I sometimes I just don't know what to think about those type of situation. It's like you were talking about, like, old guys that suddenly came back in the 90s and start to make theories and stuff like that. And I know a lot of cases where people danced back in the days during 5 years, and suddenly they understood, like, after a while, that there is like a business, and they suddenly decide to come back and make new theories, like, oh.
Hey, man, you know, I think that I can identify what you're saying, and that's a reality. I've seen it a lot. I'm not even going to go into detail.
No, we don't need to. It's just fucked up.
There's a lot of experts out here that had 1 or 2 year careers back in whenever year, right?
Yeah.
Didn't make a name for themselves, but if they say they're from New York or somewhere specific, and they got a good internet game, they can gas the world.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me to see people who dance for, like you said, I don't know, for 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. And then there is people that never stopped, or even start like a couple of years after them, but they dance for 20, 25 years, 30 years. And those guys who dance like 2 years are starting to make theories just because they danced before. But what did you did exactly?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a conversation, and it's I visited this. I've been doing this for a long time, of course, over decades, and I've came in and out of these conversations, and I've actually chosen to really use my own platform to just share what I know, because everybody has a story, right? You can't criticize someone if they think that they know something specific. You can't say they're wrong. You know, I mean, those debates go nowhere, because
True.
no one's going to give in.
True.
And I've chosen a lot of times to just like, look, man, because I read a lot of what I see in my community, because I have to follow my community, and a lot of it is not too cool. But you know, when I have my platform, when I'm in my classes, and when I have the microphone, and when I'm in front of people that are interested in understanding or getting an understanding of my story, then I use it to the best of my ability, because I have your attention. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to fool you. I'm not trying to make you believe something that didn't happen. You know, so I understand where you're coming from. And the only thing we can do is research, one, and just talk to as many people as we can that are considered, you know, guys and girls from the culture that go way back. You know, that's what we're supposed to do, right? But when it's all said and done, everybody has their depiction of their experience.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the only fucked up part of it is for us students of the game, people who are coming from faraway places. Like me, I'm from Portugal, and for all my life I heard like I'm saying that because I saw a video, maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, about the DJs coming from Brooklyn, the first hip-hop DJs coming from Brooklyn and not from the Bronx. Remember that?
Founding Fathers. This was
exactly
that was put out maybe 5-6 years ago. Yeah, I mean, it's a great documentary.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? I've used that in my courses when I was lecturing the last few years. I used it as a tool to make people really question the existence. But at the same time, you know, what do you think? You know, it's like, I wasn't there in Brooklyn in 1974 or 72. You know what I'm saying? All I can do is share information. So that's a good example. Yeah. I mean, that, what do you do when you see these things? How can you weigh and balance everything out?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like you said, those type of conversation usually, they are not gonna get you anywhere. It's super complicated. If you try to see who's right, who's not, the best thing you can do is, like you said, research and try to be aware. And
well, everybody does have an opinion too. See, as an educator, I did that in my classes and I shared it, and I loved it. I loved the documentary because it's a perspective that isn't spoken about, and it's a history that we need to know about.
True.
But when it's all said and done, in my opinion, because I grew up with, specific individuals, like we're talking about some of the icons of this culture, DJs and so forth.
Yeah.
I understand what the conversation was about, and it was more based on sound systems, and also a certain era of music and the way music was played. When it comes to hip hop culture, the aspect of extending the break and all that with flash and hurt, and when you look at all that, that's hip hop. You know what I'm saying? That was created in the Bronx. That's it. I don't want to have an argument or a debate with anybody about it, because that's what I remember. But I also remember the disco era, because my mother was going to clubs. She was into disco. We played that music, and just like she was an adult at that time and I was a little kid, so I understood. I love all that music, you know. So when I saw the documentary, I said, and some of the guys, I think, that were arguing their point, they were just speaking up on behalf of their what they grew up with. They were proud to talk about it. So I don't blame them at all. You know what I'm saying?
No. And
I think it was a great project. I think it was a great project.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Another thing that I was just thinking about it, I was listening to you, but I was also watching you. And you were, when we were talking about the burn just before, just by your gesture, made me think about something that I'm having a hard time with. It is the top rock thing. I'm seeing a lot of cats doing getting into top rock, but just top rock. They don't even break; they just get in top rock. Maybe they start with house dance or whatever, and suddenly they decide to do top rock. And the thing that bothers me the most when I see events like that, or just some type of dancers, is I don't feel that they are ready to go to the floor. It's not like they don't have an attack posture. They don't look like they are.
It's performance posture.
Exactly.
Or like a choreography posture. Yeah, I understand it.
And it bothers me. The other day I was judging a top rock battle. I was like, it's not really my thing, but whatever. I did some top rock battles also, because I wanted to defend my values and the dance in what I believe. But sometimes I'm watching dancers, and I see them so much focus on their little tricks with the feet, with a almost hip hop or house posture. I don't know. Like, I'm like, I feel like stopping the fucking battle and say, "What are you doing, man? I cannot judge it. You're not. It's not top rock for me, man."
Well, I think the first, the first thing that we need to really put into perspective is that the word play that we're dealing with right now, and no one's going to change my mind. And it's very controversial, because I spoke about this years ago, and I don't even talk about it no more because I'm done. Like, it's controversial because I spoke up and I said what I remember and that's what a loyal dancer should do, to protect the art form. Top rock is what you do before you break. If you don't break after you top rock, you're freestyling or you're up styling or whatever. You can create words, but if you use the word top rock, to me, that look, if you look at any old footage, top rock was 5% of what you did, maybe 2 or 3. Everything about the dance was breaking on the floor. That's what made it popular, because before there was breaking, there was people that danced, upright or top. That's why uprock, all these different words are based upon word usage. So with me, I gave up on this argument. I think that it's popular to create new things. And, that's what I think happened. Because I was pressured like you to judge a top rock contest. I got invited to an event and they were like, yo, can you do this? And I was, I try to humble myself when I'm being invited to people's events because I'm happy that I'm invited. So I was like, all right. But I was like, top rock contest? What? I was like, I didn't want to be a bad guy. So I didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
And I did it. And afterwards, I was like, I felt similar. I was like, yo, I was like, what are these fucking people doing? This shit look like it's jazz or, it's anything you want to see, but that's beautiful. That's freestyle.
Yeah, it is.
I put up a clip 2 weeks ago online and it's called Apache Freestyle. And I danced freestyle to Apache and I didn't break. And I tried to make this example. And I think a lot of people, I just wanted to let people know that when you dance and you're going up on top, and you're mixing and you're just going from the top and you're not doing choreography, it's freestyle. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I put it up. And I didn't do footwork. I didn't do a backspin, freezes, none of the elements. I did a drop. And that comes from rocking and freestyle or burning, whatever you want to call it, from the tradition that came before breaking and my history. I saw rocking as a kid. So, that whole thing about, people, top rock wasn't the popular thing. Like when you go like this right to left, if you look at all the old footage, that wasn't spectacular. Spectacular was on the floor. Now, top rocking evolved. People got more creative and they used whatever they came from. They used a little bit of whatever they came from. And that's the evolution. That's why a lot of dancers that break, they love top rock because maybe they couldn't break that good, and this is easier. Breaking is a hard dance, bro.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? It's not easy. So top rock is actually like for people to freestyle and not break. I love it. It's evolution. I don't care. But when you say the word top rock contest, I'm saying, well, why don't you just say,
rock contest or freestyle contest, yeah.
Or freestyle, or make a new name.
Yeah.
Because if you do a jerk and then you do like some sort of traditional top rock and then you go into housing, that's beautiful, man. That's fusion. But when you say top rock contest and I see all that happen, I'm like, why are you using the word? So either way, I don't want to build on this anymore because I know that people are going to get mad at me for saying what I'm saying, and they already have. And
actually,
all I can do is say the truth. That's it.
Yeah, of course. But actually, my point was not even about if the top rock contest should exist or not. It was more
the people not coming with their soul.
Yeah, they are not top rocking. They are not fucking top rocking at all. I don't feel that. At least make me understand that you have some kind of intentions to go to the floor. Even if you are not doing it, I need to understand that you are like in some kind of attacking mode in your posture, because that's a natural posture for a b-boy. I'm not like
very correct. You're absolutely correct, bro. Well, look, the aggressive posture, body language. Top rock is, a lot of times you see top rock, you see the older dancers, they're leaning over the body because the body language is like attack or defend. When you see rock, it's more, a lot of times people with that rock, they want everybody to see them because they're standing up top. The posture becomes this, you're showing off, what I'm saying? You're trying to be, to get attention, and that's cool. But once again, this, if you feel threatened or you feel nervous or, you feel kind of some sort of tension, your body language changes. When you look at these postures and this is all body language. It's psychological. It's being in a space, like a circle back in the days. It's not a performance. It's not spotlights in Hollywood and a camera, no cameras. It's dark, so if you choose to jump in that circle or go in that space, you don't want to look like a sucker. You want to, you come in there and you just chill, what I'm saying? You could be a spectator, but if you're going to dance in there, there's a lot of pressure. So when you see that, some of those movements, I always relate to that body language about tension, and it's almost like a fight, but it's not a fight.
Exactly.
In a sense.
For me, it's like, I don't know. It's hard. Once again, we are talking about dance. to explain this correctly, we should be like dancing and showing those moves. So it's hard to explain. But
why don't we just, keep the tradition and be like, just it's a breaking battle. You're going to do top rock, you're going to do breaking, you're going to do the elements of everything. Like it's to me, top rock is not a single dance. It's not a separate dance. It's related to breaking. Those terminologies go together. If you top rock and you don't break, that's not top rock. Top rock are the steps that B-boys and B-girls do before they break. If you separate one from the other, you don't see a person walk in the circle, right? And go sit down on the floor and start doing footwork. Why? Because they have to top rock first. It's part of the tradition. You got to top rock into the floor. So we can accept someone top rocking and not breaking, and that's okay. But if someone did that in a battle and walked in the middle of a battle and breaking battle and just didn't dance, is that okay? And just went into, that's my analogy. That's the comparison. So once again, to finalize what I'm saying, and to also add to what you're saying, yeah, you do need that energy or that type of emotion, like that battle emotion, or you want to show your skills, but at the same time, top rock is not a separate dance.
No.
And this is where we're at now. This is a competition around the world. You will not see rocking contests, international rocking contests in international events, but you'll see top rock contests, a terminology that came way late, a separate dance that it birthed itself in 2000s or whenever. So we stepped on rocking tradition and freestyle, and we just said, let's put top rock. Yeah, let's just put that, and then, like, is it that you don't like breaking on the floor? Why didn't you just say freestyle?
I don't know, but what you just said makes a lot of sense, in a way that having rocking competitions could be really dope. Plus, once again, if you analyze the top rock parts in breaking, the dance is breaking point. Okay, it's b-boying. Top rock is a part of it. You shouldn't be able to dance for, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 fucking minutes with that kind of energy, because usually when you top rock is powerful and you go down, bam. So you're not able to relax and stay there and, getting funky and that shit makes sense for rocking.
It's beautiful. Yes,
it is.
That's the tradition. So that's what's hard for me to ingest as an educator, because look, in my community, I don't want to turn people away from what I feel. I try to practice humility in the way I express tradition. I'm not first generation anything. I came later, so I'm not trying to pump my chest on anybody about my theories. But what I would say is that I'm a protector of this art form, in a sense, and it's like, I think these contests, these dancers are incredible. Guys and girls around the world that enter, they're incredible. I'm not taking any credit away from a person's personal ability to move and groove. But, that existed before breaking. When breaking was born, everything changed because it was a dance that nobody understood. People watched dance this way, and all of a sudden, everybody started watching dance this way, this whole transition, based upon the birth of hip hop culture and also, hip hop music, extending the break, this changed the way people watch dance at that time. So would you, now all of a sudden you like this you watching someone dance for 6 minutes straight, freestyling, doing some dope rock. And then all of a sudden it's like you're watching someone for 4 seconds and then he goes down and you're watching them for 25 seconds on the floor. So the context switched itself over. Now the bulk of breaking, you watched it on the floor. That everything exciting about breaking was what you did on the floor, showing off your skills, your physical skills on the floor. So this is the way that dance changed at that specific time. Audiences watch dance differently. So yeah, I understand. Like if you could dance for 4 minutes straight, and that's beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
They should do rocking contests, definitely. Just taking something that you said just before, that people should top rock first. Do you believe that there is like an order? Like you should top rock first, then I don't know. Then for me, it's not logical if you say you should do a freeze and then footwork and then power moves. But
No,
do you
I
really
think
think that there is the top rock should be first in any case?
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, tradition wise, look, I can't. I'm not a new dancer, so I can't. I have to accept evolution in the way music and dance changed over the last 40 years, right?
Mm.
So I can have an opinion on tradition. That's what my job is as a pioneer. I have to make sure that, no matter where you go with this dance, you got to know where it came from to know where you can take it.
Mm.
You have to know the history and the birth of it, and you can do what you want with it. That's beautiful about breaking is like that dance that there were rules in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Kind of, no biting, blah, blah. But at the same time, if you see all these generations of dancers, everybody's breaking the rules. Everybody's putting things in, and that's what we always did. We always took something, but we gave it that flavor. We gave it that personal flavor, and we kept the footwork in there, the core. So freezes in it, we just took from everywhere, and that's the beauty of dancing with breaking. Some dances are very restricted. You have to do the actual dance alone, and if you do something that's different, some people say, well, you weren't actually doing the dance. So the argument is there. But with breaking, from what I see, and I've done all dances that are considered cool in a sense, a little bit, and I'm probably good at some and terrible at others. But I also can feel and understand a dance. After I was around a lot of dancers growing up that are to this day icons and very famous dancers of styles. I know a lot of the top guys and girls, and I learned a lot from being around them. You know what I'm saying? So, what I would say is that with breaking, it allowed us to take from everywhere, but you still had to have this kind of B-boy or B-girl thing, traditional thing somewhere in there. So
for you, it bothers you if you see someone starting with footwork and then going up and do some top rock and then go down again. It bothers you? You need to see top rock first?
I think the dance, so traditional, like right now, once again, if you have a personal exploration, I can't critique that. That's your choice. If you want to just slide into the middle of the floor and go into flares and go into footwork or go into a headspin, that's cool. Like, what can I say about that? But what I would say is that when top rock is when you're showing, you're letting people see how you feel first. You're coming out be like, your arrogance, your pride, your confidence, whatever, your humor. This is when people get to see, they feel who you are first. Then you show what you can do physically. One thing about physical ability is that's going to wear and tear, but the person you are is never going to die until you leave this, or until we leave. This is something that never grows old. So I think it's important for someone to, if I've never seen you, like, who's this dude? And if you come out and you top rock first, I get an idea of how you feel, the way you move. And then in breaking, when you go down, I'll say, okay, now let me see what you got, and that's where it starts. So I always like to see people dance. And look, everywhere I've been traveling the last 10 years, man, the dancing has evolved really good. The top rocking before breaking is so intricate. And so there's a lot of musical connection now. And it's a huge part of being a judge. You can't just judge someone on there because they danced so good on top and then this was terrible. There's a balance that has to happen now with dancing and breaking. It's not 1978 or 79 anymore. So I can't expect things to look the way they did. But I can speak up on behalf of tradition and say, well, I like to see people top rock first, but there's no rule, There's a lot of people that don't top rock. They'll come running from the side or sliding, into moves and then do 10 moves and then start top rocking. So, there's no real rule. It doesn't bother me, to answer your question.
Okay. Then you just use the word flavor, which is super important for me. I came from a really poor family. We didn't have any money. And when I had my first contact with B-boys, I was trying to find solutions because I didn't have enough money to buy a cap or Adidas shirt or whatever. I had to be creative to be fresh, to look fresh. and it was, I learned in some way that it was a really important part of it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there is stuff, and the other day I was joking about it. I was judging an online battle, right? And we were doing the rehearsal. So the b-boys were chilling at home. They were not like ready, and some of them were dancing with socks. They didn't have sneakers on, and I was at some point I had to pretend that I was voting just for them to adjust the cameras and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, this guy won, but hey, mind something. If you're gonna dance with socks, you're fucked up with me, bro. And hey, I don't know. For me, it's all about style and aesthetics. Every gesture. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's part of it. It's your image. When I look at you,
it's your signature. It's your signature. Yeah, you're right. It's who you are.
I don't know how important it was for you back then, or even now. How important it is for you to. I mean, if you still pay attention to those things, and when you go to an event, or I don't know, for me, it still is important. And I really believe that people shouldn't forget about it, because
I agree.
I see a lot of b-boys going to events like they just don't care. They're dressed up like they are about to go run, or I don't know, some shit like that. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, we're not teenagers, man, and we have things that we value, watching this history unfold, so I understand how you feel, because with me, I don't look for flavor in any contest or any moment. See, the thing about flavor is it can't be taught. In something that the individual has inside, right? It's something about them, right? So rather than look for it, like, I'm just like, okay, what's good? Oh, snap. You'll see it and you'll feel it. And you're like, oh, she got flavor. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you can be like, oh, you feel it. You don't look for it, right? And that's the thing about the scene. You have to allow what's inside of you to come out, because that's who you are. Like, that's flavor. You can't go and be like, copy someone's hand movements and, and the way they smile and look and dress, and think that's what flavor is about. Flavor's personal, and a lot of people have it, and there's a lot of people that actually haven't found it, and some people just don't get it. Some people are just, the mind state is physical only, so that's not important to be stylish. You can, there's a lot of people that are just imitating what they think they should do, and that's technology. That's where we are right now. For many years, with the ability to share information on video and media around the world. So, what I would have to say to finalize this, what I'm saying with this topic, is that the music is the key. And I think that a lot of people, I see b-boys and b-girls practicing no music. They're practicing, and there's no, I'm like, what's up? I said, what is inspiring you right now to do what you're doing? What? So the music to me is always going to be the key. And I think with any beginner, dancer, b-boy, b-girl, find the music that moves you. Find the music that makes you feel something. Explore music, because those vibrations, that's where it comes from. It's all about those sounds, the way they make you feel. So this is, to me, the proper beginning of any dancer is the beat. It's the rhythm. It's the music. This is where, you'll do things with your body that you didn't think existed, or these feelings will come out, with the music. So the music is the key. I've always said that.
Yeah, totally agreed with that. Mm-hmm. And just for me to know, that's really a personal curiosity that I have. You guys during the 80s were still dancing with funk. I mean, traditional break beats, because what we saw was a lot of electro funk, and so I don't really know if you were dancing with electro funk in the 80s or still dancing with funk.
Mm-hmm.
What
Well,
happened then?
well, everybody was excited. You know, we were teenagers. We didn't know, like, you can't, you know, to reflect on how I felt when I was 16 and 15. We were just doing something that people did, right? And you were part of something. We weren't thinking about the evolution of music and the way music and traditions of styles of funk and soul, and whatever was being played that we liked, we got down to. Now and this is interesting because of it's also a recent topic in conversation. Florian Schneider passed away recently from Kraftwerk. Okay,
Yeah.
and if you research the group Kraftwerk, they're way beyond their time, genius.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think one big memory, rest in peace, Florian Schneider from Kraftwerk.
Yeah, for those who don't know, is the sample that Bambada used for Planet Rock.
Yes, and this is the connection. So you have to understand, like, we were so excited. When electro came into play harder, because, you know, Trans Europe Express, Numbers, those records existed. We're talking the 70s, man. People used to rock to Trans Europe Express, rock in Park Slope. Spice, FMDs, a lot of dancers, they would rock to that. And that's a slow tempo. So, but the music had an impact. Now, but see, when Bam with Soul Sonic Force and they, you know, did Planet Rock, you know, the initial feelings I felt with a lot of electro was popping. It was always popping. You know, like I felt that energy more than breaking. But we all adapted. We broke, man, whatever you put on, you know, Headhunters, you know, you put on slow beats like Mardi Gras, you know, we got down, breaks, etc. With electro, you know what I'm saying? I felt more popping, but we broke to all that stuff, man. You know, in the 80s, we were just excited, you know, and a lot of dancers, you know, like electro, you can identify specific dances with electro, like the huevo, you know, and lofting in a sense, you know, like there were dances that people didn't break, right? So there were dances that electro gave them their feel. So, but I always identified firstly with hitting and popping, you know, when I heard those sounds, but, you know, we broke to it. Yeah. And freestyle actually had a similar sound in a sense.
Miami freestyle, right?
Yeah. In the early 80s. Well, actually, I'm looking at what will become Miami freestyle. Yes.
Later, okay.
But the music that was playing in New York City in the 80s, you know, so in the clubs, and especially when breaking, you know, was becoming less popular. And a lot of people, you know, like in the mid to late 80s, you know, freestyle was booming. You know, a lot of clubs, they didn't have big circles of breaking. You know, they had people doing specific dances with each other. So that's always going to resonate. You know, like I love the reality of what hip hop music is. And ultimately, it's always going to be about, to me, the beat. The beat is where it is with any type of music, right? If there's no, and that's why, you know, the pioneers of our culture, you know, of DJing, they explored music. They went into jazz and rock and heavy metal and punk rock, and they went and dug everywhere. And then the evolution of production took these particulars of our tradition that we grew up with, and we heard our moms and dads play in our households, and, you know, and they just became creative in the evolution of music production. So to me, hip hop music is always going to be about the beat. If there's no beat, to me, it's actually not hip hop music, you know, because we didn't specify, oh, it's only disco. The DJs were so open-minded. It's a beautiful concept. You know, it's like they weren't prejudiced of any sound. You know, they said, if this just sounds dope, I'm going to try it. And the bravery of DJs trying those records and introducing those records, to me, is genius. You know, when I started DJing in, you know, back late 70s with Doze, you know, his father had a jazz collection. And even though I heard cassette tapes of some of those songs on cassette tapes from the Bronx, to realize that some of those songs his father had in his crate, a jazz crate, Bob James 2 or something like that. I mean, to realize that Roy Ayers, all these artists that were not, I would think only James Brown, you know, like something hardcore, you know? But to realize that the music, it's just went in all directions. That's the beauty of the culture itself.
Yeah,
you know, it allowed us to not discriminate on any type of music.
That's super interesting. Actually, I have to tell you, when I start breaking, we all got those Ultimate Breakbeats records, right? So I didn't know English or whatever. I never spent time reading the name of the artist or whatever. So at some point I was in the car with a friend of mine, an old school b-boy from Switzerland, and he was playing a James Brown song, and I was like, oh shit, that's breaking music. He was like, no man, that's not breaking music, that's James Brown. I was like, who the fuck is James Brown? I didn't know. I was a child, you know. Who the fuck is James Brown? Man, you don't know James Brown? And that moment was the beginning when I start open my mind. And then years later, when I realized that people like Babe Ruth were pure rock and roll, I was like, fuck, I really need to open my mind, because I was raised to hate everybody, everything that was not hip hop, everything that was not funk or hip hop. I was supposed to be against that. You know, it was super hardcore in Switzerland in the mid 80s. You were not allowed to wear caps, baseball caps, or dress with Adidas stuff if you were not a b-boy. You could be robbed, or people could beat you. You cannot tell that you were a b-boy. And if you were a b-boy, it was like b-boys against rockers, or, you know, whatever. And it was like clans, you know, in that city. So I was raised like that. I was not supposed to love rock at all. And when I discovered that Babe Ruth was rock, it was like, shit, man.
Yeah. You know, I mean, the list goes on. And, you know, I'm a music person, but I'm not an expert of music. But I love music, and I identify with specific things, and my memory. You know, that's the thing about breaking now with me, is like when I have my opportunities to teach classes, the music is it's like being at my age now. It's like, if this music wasn't the factor, I wouldn't be doing it anymore at all. The music gives me the energy to say, yeah, you can teach a class. You can do this, bro. You could do 5 classes this month, you know, just bring the music that inspires you. And to this day, when I go and I listen to a lot of music every day, all day, I listen to music. And sometimes I hear something else, like, I never heard that. I want to use that for a class. And I've been the last few years taking music that is not traditional, really kind of like considered like the Mexican, or give it up or turn it loose. And I've been doing, it inspires me to create and to do art with music that is moving me. That's what this whole journey is about. And it's like, that's why, once again, it relates to the music. You know, Paradise City is a record shop. I'm not a collector. Don't get it twisted. I'm not, but you know, I got my equipment, I got records, you know, I love music, man. It's this to me is the key. I'm an average dude, you know, that loves music. And I really think I have a gift, you know, that was given to me with rhythm and music, for my family. So, you know, I'm always going to be on that page too, man. Like look, Baby Huey, one of the greatest songs of all time. Listen to Me. I mean, I in the last 10 years, I've tried to listen to other songs. I'm like, yo, and then you start researching, you see like 100 bands that were incredible.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like, it blows your mind. It's like, it's there's no limit, you know, like, and I think we're still exploring a lot of music, these days. And, you know, peace to my man, next one, Maurizio, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He is my favorite b-boy music producer. That's it, hands down.
Yeah, he's dope, man.
He's an expert.
We spin together a couple of times in some parties. He's dope, man. Yeah.
He's a student. He's a true student. He knows the sound of New York. He's a true student, man. I give my boy respect.
Yeah, Maurizio. I need to do an episode with him. I already talked with him. Yeah, of course I will. And I was wondering, how much do you think? Because I feel that is a little bit like that. I cannot talk for everybody, but I feel that people who are in b-boying today, most of them only into b-boying. Which was rarely the case back then. People were doing graffiti, people were trying DJing, people were trying, I tried everything. Actually, I was not good at rapping at all. I was a bad MC and whatever. But today, I don't know. I don't know how much people can lose with not trying other stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's once again, it's an evolved uh, culture and society. And there's new things, man. There's new things, and young people, you can't force a young person to understand where you come from, and I've learned that over time. Like I have a perspective as an elder, but these are new times. I think that to build on your point, it's very important to, if you say you're down with hip hop, what I'm saying, you're down with the elements of the culture, and I think it's in your best interest, anybody to try, for example, I'll say in a class, does anybody DJ'd in here? No, like one person might raise their hand and 30 people. I'm like, okay, well, try it. Okay, try it. To understand the break and the timing of the break and understand how the break works and the scratch makes you a better B-boy, B-girl. That's it. Does anybody play an instrument? Like one would be like, oh, okay, cool. What type of, and I'm like, play an instrument, understand rhythm and time. So it's with the culture. I think when you say writing culture, wall writing, graffiti, MCing, even poetry and writing, with physical ability, all these elements accent each other. These elements, when you understand them all, they're inspiring in a specific way. You don't have to be a great poet or a great DJ or a great B-boy or B-girl, but the elements to really explore them provide inspiration to art, color and thought and sound and physical ability and rhythm, so I think that you're right. I think that a lot of people just are strictly DJs or strictly B-boys or B-girls, like they don't, and I, one thing that I try to share is that conversation. Like you brought up the question, and I think the conversation is important to remind young audiences and new generations that this is the culture. And that's why it's important. If you're a B-boy and a B-girl, man, you got to know your history. You got to know where this all came from to understand what you can do with it and where you can take it. If you don't know your past, you don't know your future. You don't know where you're going in a sense. So it's very important to really just explore. Like I did all that shit, but I love breaking. And that's where it ended. I was like, well, I still play music. I still do pieces. I'll bug out. I may kick a freestyle on the top whenever, but my forte and my love and my true passion is with the actual art of dance, breaking.
Yeah, man. The last episode that I did with Oscar, the guy that I told you before, we're talking about the notion of groove, what groove is, and a lot of people talk about groove in dance, like you should work your groove or your funko, like abstract concepts, and lately I've been doing some music, and I was like working trying to do some remix strictly with the computer, right? Every time that I was trying to create a bass line, it was bothering me. I was like, fuck, that's not, it didn't felt organic. So I bought myself a bass line and I started practicing bass line. And after that, I was every time that I was listening a song, I was listening differently. And one of the things that helped me was to understand what groove is musically. And what some musician says it is the silence between the notes. So for a dancer to understand that, I think it helps a lot. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But another thing that I'm super curious about it is where do you guys used to practice back then?
Well, once again, with the word practice, right? It comes from something specific that wasn't our terminology. Like wherever the music was, like what the right music came on, that's when we danced. And when we were dancing, we were practicing, but we weren't practicing. So it's like at 12 years old, we didn't say we have to practice to break. Like that wasn't a conversation. It was just like, yo, somebody just do some crazy stuff. What is he doing? That dude is breaking, or she's breaking, or whatever. Damn, I want to try that. You know what I'm saying? Like you dove into it as a teen, at that time. So, but then, with the birth of Rocksteady Crew, combination Bronx, Manhattan, we would go to the back of our park on 98th Street and there was a playground. You've seen it in the movie Style Wars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's where, if to answer your question, when we started practicing, we still didn't call it practicing. We was just like, yo, let's go break in the back. We were getting down, but we were practicing. So, but when we became popular and we started doing shows, then the actual word of practice became important because we became quote unquote professional in a sense, b-boys, so we had to practice our craft to present our craft. So that's when the practice. So yeah, in the back of the park, we would do routines, we would do routines to battle, make up routines with each other. So when we had a battle, we can look like we was. So yeah, we practiced when we started getting more together as a group. And that the places we were practiced, there was two of them. There was an ice cream shop, Carvel Ice Cream. They had it was right next to Rocksteady Park on 99th Street, Amsterdam Avenue, Manhattan. The Carvel had a video game, one video game in there where, you put the quarter, you play Asteroids. And then they had this big space. It was maybe by 15 by 15, maybe bigger, before you go to the ice cream to buy the ice cream. And they let us stay there, and we used to break inside there because they had it was a floor, but it wasn't concrete. It was tiles, and we would just be in there, and we knew the people that worked there. They were mad cool, and they would let us break in there, what I'm saying? So it would be there and it would be outside. For me growing up, that's where most of it was because I lived right next door. My building, 765, Amsterdam is connected to Rocksteady Park, me and Doze. And most of the guys from Manhattan were in that region. So those were the places we would most of the time practice. But, once again, if we went up to 5 blocks up to somebody's house and stuff, we went to the park right outside in the projects and it was popping off, we got down, so practice is an evolved kind of mentality for us because when we were little kids, we didn't think of it as practice. We thought of it as just having fun and doing something different.
I love that, man. I love that answer, because last year I went to over there to LA to record a documentary with the Original Lockers, right? Mm-hmm. And being a kid from the streets, without knowing, it was not the first time, but that last time it was so deep that I really realized that it's crazy, like being from another part of the world, but finding similar street codes and similar realities. And what you just described that you experienced in the Bronx during your time, it was the same reality for me back then in Switzerland. Because the thing is that I was born in Portugal, went to Switzerland during a couple of years, and then I came back here. So we didn't have no practice. We're just calling each other, let's go break. And we were just getting down in our neighborhood. But it was not like a practice to go and win a battle, or because you know that you're going to battle this guy or that guy and you need to find some new moves or whatever. It was not something to perform better. We were just getting down. We were just dancing. And then that's why I wanted to talk with you about this, because for me there is an important part missing in the game right now, which is the jams. I never, during my early years in breaking, we never had battles organized. I mean, organized battles. It was just jams. We knew that maybe such crew or another crew will be there and we'll go there to battle them. But it was not organized, no judge. And then even the parties, they were parties, not like a b-boy event. They were spinning like slow jams at some point, and stuff like that, and the vibe was totally different. And I don't know how much, and that's what I need to hear from you, how much this dance changed because of the actual format. I feel that people practice to do events because they know that they're gonna have that many rounds, and I don't know what you think about it.
I think that yeah, I mean, but it's there's people in the forefront that have new ideas, and when they become a part of this culture, they want to express their views and opinions on how the way things work. So that's an evolution that, once again, there's a lot of things that I don't like about the community over all these years of watching it go up here and there and just go up and down. But at the same time, it allowed me to grow as a person, to understand that things do change. Right. So, with my, back in the days, the crowd was the judge. That's it. The crowd let you know if you was whack, and let you know if you was good. That's just the way it worked, and if you were good and you smashed it, you knew it. You walked away and it's like, I don't care what anybody says. I rocked that dude. I killed that circle. You walk away knowing when you fail and when you succeed, in a sense, because it's personal. No one can tell you you won if you feel like you lost. No one can tell you lost if you feel like you won. So, over time, some of the early contests, and we're talking about history, like dance contests, a lot of times it was the crowd that judged it, when they were formatted like rock or freestyle contests from talking to a lot of the elders, they would happen in these discos and night spots where people would play music and dance, and they would have contests and the crowd judged. Some of the first contests I entered, it was the crowd who judged it. And some of the first contests I entered were dance contests. They weren't breaking contests. So, for example, I entered a contest with Crazy Legs in '81 in Uptown Manhattan, a Halloween dance contest. And there were the other people were hustle partners, and we were the only two that we did some top rock, some footwork, did some freezes, So it was a dance contest. It wasn't like a breaking contest, And just for the record, we did win. Got 2 trophies and some money. But that's the example. The crowd was basically had the call. There were no judges at that time. We actually were part of the first wave of commercial judging, because when we became popular, we started becoming judges. So I'm a part of this evolution of, this. Now we're starting to have people criticize what they think is good or bad. So I can't, I can't hate on it, because I'm a part of that evolution in the 80s and 90s. We just started becoming judges. I think that a lot of people, do understand the concept of entering a contest. So they prep for that, right? They're like, I need 20 rounds at least, because if I go to, top 32 to 16, I got to get past people. That's why people say, how many rounds? So I understand the evolution, because it's become professional and formatted, right? And this had to happen. And there's a lot of things that I accept, and there's a lot of things that I'm going to let go, because I can't expect people to understand me because I come from this specific generation. But I would say that there's such a huge conversation, because then the community started saying, there was a conversation years ago where not too long ago, in the last decade, where certain people started saying, well, how do we hold the judges liable? Why did I lose? And everybody wanted to be scientists and shit. And everybody started getting into this real particular philosophical thing. And I'm like, if you ask me for my opinion, I'll give it to you. Don't tell me to dissect what you did and be in detail after 5 seconds of watching you. If my opinion says that's where it went, that's where it went. That's why you have different people judging. You have different people with different perspectives, different even generations. So I get it. But to start questioning why, it's too technical, and to give me a list of 20 things to look at, that's not what's up, because that's not real. I'm not a robot. A lot of us aren't. And then it was like, let's hold the judges liable. Let's give the community someone to yell at when they lose. Let's give them an option to, let's yell at this motherfucker because he said I lost. And now let me pick his brain. So what we lost there was respect. As in, to be a judge, you have to have some type of, history to where you're an artist and you proved yourself, right? So we respect you. That's what needs to be understood about this. You can give me any computer or gadget, but when it's all said and done, it's what I feel inside is what I'm going to pick. And I am allowed that freedom to do that as a human. And if you don't respect it, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, you know. But the technology now and you know where we are in this dance is very complex and technical and specific. Olympic sports, you know, this is a big conversation. And ultimately, as an advocate for the art form, I don't want to be a hater, but I still stand my ground on saying I'm down to judge. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a criteria, I'll try to do it. But when it's all said and done, don't put me on blast. You know, when you win, you love me. And when you lose, you hate me. Don't put any judge on blast, man. Just accept what it is. And what it is someone's opinion.
Yeah, man. I'm not hating at all. I'm okay with I'm okay with the evolution. I'm just saying that in some way, I missed that part. I missed having just gems.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Big
just
time.
gems, man.
Big time. And they exist though. You know, there's people making efforts, man. Every country has somebody that feels the way you feel that says, yo, let's just get a spot. Let's get dark circles going on. We need more of that, bro. I agree with you. And that's the actual education that's missing with these new quote unquote generations. They need to understand what it is to be in a dark circle with no cameras and just going for it till you can't go for it anymore. That's the tradition. Battling. There's no stopwatch, no rounds. What you got? 1 hour later, are you repeating your moves or you still got skills?
True.
That's where I come from.
Word. Yeah, man. I need to tell you the truth, man. A few years ago, I organized an event with Arthur, you know, from Deep Trip. And so I told them, okay, let's just do a jam. He had this group session battle during the day, and at night I said, okay, we're just gonna invite dancers to come, and if you feel like dancing, they will dance. But there is not gonna happen like any battle. We're gonna have any judge. We're just gonna put all our money in a dope DJ. I brought Natasha Diggs from New York, and we're gonna invite the dancers. So they have their trip paid, the hotel pay, but they don't gonna have any cachet because if they are free to perform if they want to. But that's it. And when I called the dancers, they will not understood. They were like, a jam? For what? they couldn't understood. Like, they were like, there is no battle. I'm not a guest. I'm not a judge. So why do you want me?
Wow.
So, and I miss that. And I don't know. I'm wondering at what point this only format, because there is a few gems, but there is only just a few. And the main format is the battling game. And I'm wondering how much this format shaped the actual dance. When you get ready only to dance like this in a battle, like official battle with judges. So,
it's two different worlds. It's
two different worlds.
So, and that's the thing that, once again, it's like, you know, me watching all this happen over all these years, it's like I'm confused too, but I'm like, you know, do you get mad and start just like, do you get mad and run and say, F this shit, I'm not down? Or do you say, well, I need my voice here? So with me, it's like, look, I'm understanding what it is, man, but I'm always going to have that platform that's community first, you know, and years ago, people were asking me to go in a certain direction with the art, and I declined. Because I just want to be a part of the community, to be in a position where I can say, you know, I'm down to do anything and everything. I just don't want to exclude myself because this is an art that I want to try to protect. The jams are so important. A lot of events do after parties. Okay, so we have to also acknowledge that a lot of the big contests, you know, they do throw an after party where there's a club or something, and there is that platform for people to bug out and not just have fun. So it is happening, but I agree with you. I remember years ago when I would hear people talking, like B-boys and B-girls, oh, it was a contest down here in this city. Oh, yo, how much is to win? And they'd be like 500. 500? Man, I ain't going to that shit. Like you start hearing these conversations where people didn't even enter and they were declining going because the cost. Like, it's not enough money. You didn't even win yet. And you're like, nah, I'm not going to that shit. And it's like, I understand. But, look, it's also young people, that, a lot of people trying to survive, need some money, so it's all these conversations come into play. So I remember when I was young, I was a teenager, it was summers. I didn't have a job. I didn't need a job. I lived with my mother, my brothers, I could leave in the summer, go outside, play. I didn't have responsibilities at that time, so it's a different world, and younger people now it's a different time, so, and the structure and the format is being put in front of young people today. And if they don't study the history, they're not going to know. They're going to practice. They're going to be training for a contest, and maybe they're too young to even go to like an adult.
Yeah, of course, party, of course. But do you think that the dance could be different if you only practice for battling events?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see?
I think dances. See, with I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the whole thing is that once again, the music. See, now you can go to a party, right? And if they're playing, like a serious funk groove, and you see a dude spazzing out, breaking in the corner, there's already a problem. The context. You understand what I'm saying? So. Yeah. The whole thing is, I think that the most important element is the ability to adapt to the environment and the situation. So if they're playing something that's groovy and smooth, that's the way you're moving. You're adapting to the sound. Now, if they're playing a hardcore break and you're just being groovy and smooth, there's a problem. Like, my whole thing is context. So I think the education is for young people to go to parties, man, to have parties where all types of music is played. See, back in the days, it wasn't breakbeats all night. It was once or twice in the night that they would play maybe Apache or Dance to the Drummer's Beat, and then you would see people break. But outside of that, it was whatever dances were popular. So, we hear the term social dance, and a lot of people doing social dance classes, like every dance step possible from the 80s and 70s, piece to that. But when it's all said and done, you can't teach a person. You could teach a person in a class physical movement, but you can't teach a person's soul or groove or something that's coming from internally inside, because the music is the teacher. It's not, you can't, if you got it, you got it. If you don't, you're going to have a hard time in this, so.
When did you guys met the European B-boys for the first time? You remember your first contact?
Well, when we went to Europe, there were no B-boys.
You went to Europe?
We went to Europe, there were we were bringing, with New York City Rap Tour, we were bringing it out to, to Germany, and we went to London quickly. There wasn't a scene. There was a rap, like people were excited by the Bronx, the images of the Bronx and rap music, and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five were on tour, and maybe some others. But the first time we went, there wasn't a scene yet. Now, when we started traveling more often, different countries, we went to Australia in '84. There was people breaking, that we ran into. Now, am I saying that when we first went in '81, there were no breakers in Europe? I don't know, but I didn't see them. They probably were. Who knows? I'm not.
So
I'm not on every street in Europe.
Of course.
So I mean, but the first times we went, we were introducing this culture to these communities. So there weren't that many people that were breaking.
So when was the first contact that you had with real B-boys, European real B-boys?
Well, I mean, like I said, there were times that we went back in London. There were people, because we got famous.
Yeah.
We started running into more. The more we traveled, more people we would run into, more breakers. A lot of breakers, So I mean, and we were popular going. The record label we were with was a British label, Virgin Records, so we were like a pop group with the Hey You the Rocksteady crew,
Yeah.
so we were popular and we attracted that audience. When the video, music, television, MTV, and those videos went out to the world, it also introduced the aspect of people saying, what's that? I want to try it. I want to do it. Every country that had television, when those music videos hit the world, and also old documentaries and films, people broke. I can't say, where people were breaking. I could tell you only what I remember about us traveling, yeah.
So there was like no one that you
The
saw
80s,
that you was like,
in the
okay,
80s,
this guy is dope or whatever.
we saw, I'll be honest with you, and no disrespect, but we saw a lot of break dancers in the 80s when we traveled, but we didn't see real B-boys. Not that much at all, rarely, because they didn't have no information. They were copying what the media was putting out to be popular a lot of times. So if you saw a commercial, most of the time you see windmills, right? You see someone doing windmills or a headspin for, shopping a product, or chocolate milk, start doing windmills. So if you're in a country and you see that windmill, you're going to learn that windmill.
Of course.
You're going to learn whatever they're doing. And that in media, and that's why the break dancer perspective is like, media people that don't understand the art form are going to choose something they think is exciting to see, to use for their product, or their presentation. They're not going to look at someone doing top rocking before they break, or doing some cool dancing. Not much, because when breaking exploded, it was so popular. Everybody loved it. That's what you wanted to see. So those particular moments were chosen. So a lot of people around the world, that's why you see a lot of people in the evolution that they didn't have any footwork. They only had windmills and nice spins and great things, because that wasn't media great to show footwork.
Yeah, it was not sellable. It was not something sellable. Yeah. But who was the first one who got your respect?
That's hard to call, man. There's so many people that, I think the 80s was a fog. It was a blur for me. When we got popular, we traveled. But you got to understand, they took us out the street, and all of a sudden we're flying in jet planes and going around the world. We're performing. We're stars in a sense. A lot of that is a blur, and it didn't last long. Everything kind of, we weren't pop star songwriters and, singers. We were B-boys and B-girls. So
of course
that had its thing. I think in the 90s, there was a lot of guys that I saw, always, for me, and I say this story a lot, for many years, this is not a new story, but next one, Maurizio was one of the dancers that I saw that had that combination of power and tradition and education. But he stands out a lot because he was so explosive.
Yeah.
At that time, and there was something, and when you look at all these years that passed, and understanding him as a DJ and a producer, the music. So he's a music person. So already there's something inside there. And I think that I relate to that a lot with him. And that's why I admired him. But like I said, Storm and all the guys, Battle Squad, all those crews, Throwdown crew. There's so many crews from so many countries, Sweden, all those countries, dope crews with dope B-boys that I got to respect, another dude, Mad Nico, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Throwdown, he was dope. Like there's certain people that had little things that were specific, but I respect all of them, even if it is in a style that I admired, a lot of the evolution, so much evolution with power moves, I was seeing dudes, in California was the first times that I saw the evolution really go crazy with power moves. But when we started, I was like, damn, dudes is going bananas with these power moves and spins. It was impressive, and it wasn't my style, because that I had power moves, but I wasn't like an enthusiast of diving my whole world into learning a head spin, and a lot of these people in these different countries, they just were like, I'm going to master this. I'm going to get these windmills and these 1990s and these whatever moves. And, so that's the bulk of what the impression was, but there was a lack of education.
Yeah.
And that was early. And then the education came, and now the world has this beautiful balance of really experienced, knowledgeable B-boys and B-girls that understand the art.
Yeah, because it was the info that we got. And I remember perfectly that back then, sometimes the battle was like, who can do more flares, who can do more windmills, and the answer was like that, like one do 10, the other gonna do 12 or whatever. And we were into that because we didn't have more info. But
you know, but to add on to that, you know, like back in the days, it was similar. Someone do helicopters, right? You know, when the dance only had maybe 20 moves, 15 moves, maybe. Someone would do helicopters, and then the next dude would jump in and be like, well, I'm going to do more than you did. And the next dude said, I'm going to do it with one hand, and then I'm going to do it backwards. So it's not a new concept of challenging physical ability, especially as a young person. It's like if you take breaking as a dance and an art, and you say this way, and you take a street park, right? And you have an apparatus or monkey bars, and you have kids playing. It's similar. Kids are going to jump. How far can you jump? Can you jump from this rock to the bar?
Exactly.
It's a similar mentality of people, and it's almost like competitive in a sense, you know, like who can do it better.
Yeah, it's the same mindset, of course.
Yeah.
But did you notice some kind of I don't know, like different language in their dance? Like we talk about the power moves, but because they were from another place, did you saw some different vocabulary? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a personal exploration. Everybody is different, and that's a fact. Sometimes when we try to be different, we fail because we're trying. But everybody does things a specific way. So yeah, there was a lot of people that, you know, just they you know, just were comfortable with themselves at certain times. And I saw different things. I wasn't thinking, oh, that was a leg sweep.
Yeah, of course.
I wasn't a scientist, you know, but I did say, well, damn, I never seen that. Oh shit, that was dope.
Yeah.
Damn, you know, not out loud and not as a scientist or a scholar. I was just a student in my own right. But I was also an elder, you know, in those times because we were more experienced than a lot of the younger dancers. But I saw a lot of unique things, man. Even in California early, you know, in the 80s, I saw some dudes in California, man, you know, we judged a contest, a Jerry Lewis telethon breakdance contest in 84 or 83. And that's when we did the Hey You, the Rocksteady Crew song. And, you know, we were popular, blah, blah, blah. So we were invited as judges. And we saw like 40 to 70 groups. And a lot of the groups were strutters. And, you know, they were doing funk style dances, like groups of 12 people doing, you know, there were lockers. There was different groups that specialized. And then there were the breakers were the youngest dance at that time because the funk styles was already existing.
Yeah, of course.
And they were. I stopped actually popping when I left that place because I was like, I'm so whack. I stopped popping. I was like, you're not a popper, bro. But the breaking had just been born, you know, from the movies, and they weren't that great at breaking, but they were excited and inspired.
Yeah.
And they were doing a lot of crazy stuff. I never forget, I seen a dude do this elbow spin. I guess he was double jointed. And you know how you do a hand glide and you put your hand and you push? This dude put his hand in his stomach, right? And he pulled his elbow straight.
No
shit. He
shit.
started gliding on his elbow. On his elbow.
Yeah, like this.
I never seen that before.
What the fuck?
But in a hand glide, the same hand glide posture, you're on the floor flat and he just went like this. And I was like, this is retarded. I was like, I can't even deal right now. But, you know, that's an example. So many times we traveled, there was always some people that did and created things. I just don't remember too much about that. But no, look, everybody that saw this dance that had inspiration contributed, you know, in some way or another. We're not, you know, I was born in New York, but, you know, like the vocabulary is a worldwide vocabulary with a lot of contributors that guys and girls that have added great things to the dance.
So you being from New York, and you have to be honest on this one. I know it's going to be difficult because there is a lot of dope dancers in it, but you being from New York, you see for the first time breaking, where the guys are doing like fucking knee spins, like waves to top rock, and how do you feel about it?
We would now. Look, what am I going to say? I'm a person that I'm an educator in my culture. I'm not going to. I accept it for what it is. In the
No,
80s,
but you were young.
We was laughing in the 80s. We were snapping on people, be straight up and down. Not only that, like, yeah, we were just like, when, you know, certain movies came out, we were like, oh man, damn. We were like, don't break, please. That shit is whack. Like, we were laughing, but we were teenagers.
Of course.
When you're young also, you know, you're honest. And that's the beauty of the birth of this culture, because the criticism was honest. If you looked whack, people told you. Like, now you see a post of someone that's whack and people be like, yo, that was great. Keep going, man. I'm like, why are you saying that was great?
Fuck that, man.
On this whack ass solo. And I'm like, why are you lying to my man? Be honest with him so he could get his feelings hurt. Because see, a lot of people improved from those battles where they got blasted. You know?
True.
KRS, he said, B-boys got shut up, went home and said, damn. You know, in a lyric, and that's part of the education, man.
It is.
You can't know how to succeed or win if you don't know how it feels to lose in this. You know what I'm saying? So we were honest, like in public school. You know, like little kids are so honest, even like little kids, like, you're ugly. And they're like, wow, that's messed up to say that to someone. But the child doesn't understand that honesty. It's so
That's
vicious.
True, man. That's why I asked you. I was really curious to picture you as a teenager watching that movie. I was like,
we had a lot of pride. We were cocky, arrogant. We thought we were the shit. A lot of us were being punk style, like, yeah, we the best. But that's the arrogant side of the essential B-boy, was arrogance and confidence and pride. And it's like, even if, you know, you think someone's dope, you're like, man, he's whack, man, I'm better than him. You know, like that whole mentality is just the essence of the culture, and people proving themselves in the communities and trying to be accepted by their peers. You know, getting a status in the hood. Like, you know, you want to have people be like, yo, my man, it's nice. You don't want to have people saying, yo, that's that dude, yo, he's whack. You know, so, you know, when you became a part of it, you knew the challenge that was ahead of you. You know, and you knew you were going to get criticized. You know, I wasn't that good, man. Like back in the days, I look at some shit. I was like a toy, you know what I'm saying? I was like a beginner, you know, a lot of dance I see sometimes, some of the rare times I see it, I'm like, I guess I was just exploring, but it wasn't that great. You know, it took time, you know, I got out danced, you know, in circles, you know, I knew I wasn't that good, but that helped me, you know, it helped me to get better because I knew what I needed to look like. I knew what I needed to do to be accepted.
True, man. And actually, I was listening to that, and I was thinking about the judging things that you said before also. And there is a lot of situations where the people are talking about robbery. Hey, this is a robbery, and they pay the judges and stuff like that. A shit like that just happened in Portugal like 1 week ago. Wow. I was like, what the fuck those guys can imagine? That the organizer came to me and paid me more for me to vote for that guy or this guy. They don't know me. For me, it's insane. Plus, okay, let's pretend the guy is my friend. He's from my crew or whatever. I don't give a fuck. Am I doing him a favor voting for him if he lost? What kind of logical is that?
Well, you know, he's going to continue to if that's the issue, there's no lesson. And when he doesn't have someone to vote for him, he's going to realize when the other judges be like, they're not going to pick him. They're going to be like, damn. If your friend, if a friend is honest to you, he's going to keep it real. He's going to be like, nah, man, you my boy, man, but nah, you got lost. And you know, that exists. I've been on the front line of judging, and I've watched from the sidelines sometimes, and I sometimes feel like, man, I don't know. You know, so everybody, from what you see in your perspective, you're going to choose what you think. You know, like I've been like, I've said that before over the years, like seeing other battles. Oh, my man got robbed. I've said it. You know what I'm saying? You know, I can be that hater or that person on the side that's criticizing, but we have the right to, as people, you know, your opinion. Hey, peace, man. You think he won? Peace to that, man. Don't be like, fuck you, you suck. Why are you going to disrespect someone if they chose somebody? Now, if you purposely choosing someone for cash money, or you being on the side and you know better, then you an asshole, and you ain't a friend to your boy. You know, like that's where it ends.
Man, I don't want to picture a reality where those kind of things can exist. I cannot picture someone paying a b-boy to judge in a certain way. I just cannot imagine that. And for me, I mean, of course, at the end is a fucking opinion. I mean, the other day I was talking with a b-boy who got exactly the same vision of the dance as I have, and we were talking about the decision. I was voting for a guy, and he didn't agree, and we have the same values. So at the end, it's just an opinion.
But yeah, and you know what? Look, a lot of people, man. You know, this is not rocket science. It's not extremely complex. The dances can be intricate, but we can't lose sight of what this is a person's choice of expression and the freedom to do it. So we can't get too critical with people. Then, you know, with me, it's just like, we don't have to be that microscope about every particular thing. What I would say, though, is that what's important for the community is have a rotation of specific, quote unquote, great dancers that the community respects, a rotation of good judges of all different perspectives. When you have that variety of people, you can't say it's anybody's fault, you know, because even though I never was a master of air and power moves, I know what they are and I did them. So, you know, my critique is going to be on a larger scale overall. And then even the masters of air and power, they do footwork. They know what footwork is. It's not like you can't really, B-boys nowadays are qualified, and B-girls. They know the full art, but some just do things better than others. That's why the variety of judging and experts, in a sense, is important, because, you know, you're getting, now you get like 5 judges to me is a good look, because you
exactly.
can't, you know, you got you can't really get mad. You'd be like, damn, well, if it's 3 people, you could still get mad, but at least it's a different, you know, like you look at everybody's experience and career and you say, well, man, shit, I guess he saw something I didn't see, or maybe she,
True. Yeah.
You know, maybe she has a vision of that I couldn't see from where she's sitting. You know, we don't know.
True. Yeah, exactly. In the perfect world, I also think that 5 judge is an ideal case, but a lot of times it's a money thing. So it cannot always happen.
Yeah, it can't. And it's, but I respect the fact that, you know, look, I'm popular and I get a lot of opportunities, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful every day, like, that I get picked. But there's a lot of great dancers over the last 40 years that can be sitting in these positions. You know, I know a lot of people, you know, probably like, why don't they call me to judge? You know, that shit is fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm grateful that I get picked. And if they don't pick me no more, I don't even care, because I'm so grateful that I've been picked. But I think that the more judges we have that practice humility, to give an honest opinion and not be biased and have a favorite, they exist in this world, guys and girls that can do these jobs. A lot of B-girls too. I love the aspect of more B-girl judges, simply because the history of this dance, they were like, women have been through everything. They've been through this whole journey. You know, like when you talk about the history of some B-boys back in the day, 70s and 80s, it was always their sister or their girlfriend or their mother. You know, they're part of the same experience, and they all have stories that they could tell different than the guy can.
True.
And a lot of times the woman, because I've done research, so much research, and some of the times I brought like dancers from generation before me, whatever, and I'd be like, yo, bring the girl that used to dance, or bring someone, and they would both speak. You know, sometimes the person that was part of it has a story that's interesting, but there's always someone from that was there, watched it also, that's going to tell that story a little bit differently.
True.
You know, from an honest perspective, because a lot of the women weren't magnified because of the macho culture style it was, but they were there from the beginning. So, you know, I don't want to say man or woman. You know, I don't want to get into this equality. You know, if you got skills, you should be there.
True, you know? True, man. Talking about history, nothing to do. Just one thing apart from the subject that we are talking about right now. Are you watching Last Dance on Netflix, the Chicago Bulls documentary?
Oh, I'm about to. I haven't started yet.
Man, you need to. It's crazy. Yeah.
I'm about to watch it.
Yeah, man. It's
tonight I think I'm going to start it.
Do it. It's fucking dope, man. And the thing is, in basketball, everybody agrees that Jordan is number 1. and to achieve this level, you need to have a special mindset and a deep, some kind of deep story to make you what you are. So my question is like, in b-boying, everybody, almost everybody agrees that you're the one. So my question is, what makes Ken Swift Ken Swift?
Well, you know, there's people that I grew up with that know me and have this, you know, this experience with me, and there's people in the world, in the community, and in dance. First of all, I totally appreciate when people admire, you know, my achievements or what, but I don't really take that into, I think that what I value, which I received from my mom and, you know, from just, I don't know where it came from, is the connection with people and just trying to be yourself. You know, like, I think what people remember about me, I think, is that, you know, I level with everybody. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they think I'm the greatest b-boy. I think they think I'm cool. If you've met me and we've hung out, you know, I'm a bug out, you know what I'm saying? But I never look down on anybody. I try not to think I'm better than anybody. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what people admire. And I think that's what I value, because I can go anywhere and be who I am and be accepted and not have to worry. You know what I'm saying? I went through a lot in the street, you know what I'm saying, in the 80s. I'm happy to be alive. And the people that I grew up with know this. A lot of people in the world don't know this. So the things I went through in the street in my teenage years, trying to find out who I was and where I was going, that whole struggle is who I am today. So I think what makes me Ken Swift is the ability to hang out and chill and understand and respect people in this art and in general. I think that's it, because I'm not by long shot like I'm good, and in my prime I was good, and I'm always going to pat myself on the back for that. But nah, man, there's 1,000 nasty ass dancers, bro, that deserve the same respect in a sense. I think it's the humanity thing that I really admire about giving the chance to travel the world. A lot of people I grew up with, they never left the projects. They never left. They still live with their moms. Some of the people I know, you know what I'm saying? They never got a chance to be on an airplane, you know? So my gratitude is you were given these chances, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people didn't. So be responsible for who you are. If you got the chance, be responsible and be a positive example for your community. I think that's a big idea that I understood in the 90s when I started really getting into into this art. And it's the only thing that I loved. I knew that I had a responsibility to the community. So I can't wait to see that documentary. I mean, straight dope, up, man. I can never be compared to Michael Jordan. Yeah. There's no way possible. Like, I'm so excited to watch it because I already know what's going to happen. I already know because we all watched him dominate, you know, under pressure, you know, in a sport where there's a lot of talent. So yeah, man. But like I said, I appreciate that perspective and question, you know, but I'd rather, you know, just see myself as just another person that's, you know, open to supporting a culture, you know, in the world.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And actually, in my life, I try to see everybody as an equal. I mean, if I will have this conversation with Stevie Wonder, which is probably one of my favorite singers, I will talk the same way as I'm talking with you. You know, I will not be like, you know, I'm not like that. I treat people as equals.
Good.
But at the same time, man, you are what you are. So I was super curious to understand what shaped that, what kind of mindset, because talking about Michael Jordan, which is an exception, you can tell in the documentary that everything for him was a competition. He couldn't stand losing in nothing. At some point, he's throwing coins, playing a game, throwing coins, you know, with his securities. And he's getting mad because he's losing. He cannot stand losing. Everything was a competition for him. So I was like trying to understand how you were, for example, I don't know, watching other people getting down and maybe like, fuck, I need to do better than that. Or how did you get to that point of researching your moves? Because you did that research.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, the big point is the 90s for me. You know, when I was young, we didn't know we had no idea. Look, if you would ask me in 1980, where do you think you're going to be in 2020? My answer, I would be like, wow, 2020, what? That's the future. You know, like as a kid, you'd be like, I hope I'm whatever I aspired to be. If I wanted to be a race car driver, when I was a child, I wanted to be a race car driver.
Really?
That was my, I want to be a race car driver. So, I mean, like, I wouldn't say I'm going to be a B-boy having an interview with someone from another country in 2020 about this art. So, but in the 80s, I was extremely creative. And, you know, when I went through what I went through in the streets, and when the culture went through, you know, New York went through a lot in the 80s, the world went through a lot. When we all started, you know, when we all started getting together again to really share our experiences and come back together and do art, you know, that was the second type of me visiting my creative exploration, because it was missing in my life. You know, when they murdered Buck 4 and Kuriaki, you know, it was a big time. And we kind of got together, a few of us, and this is when we started saying, man, what's up? You know, so we started just trying to, in 1990, you know, that Wild Style reunion where Maurizio came to, and, you know, they had Quick Step there, and it was on Video Music Box or something. You know, that like this is a resurgence of a lot of people just coming back around to revisiting the roots of our culture. We always were doing, you know, what we always did. It's just that, you know, there was trauma in the streets, and there was trauma with individuals. You know, there was a lot of pain, you know. So in the 90s, when I started getting more into the dance, I felt like I was whack. This is a true story.
Really?
In the Wild Style reunion, we danced. Me, Legs, Wiggle, you know, who was, I forgot who was it. We broke, right? In the party on the stage, we did a small show, right? And I was like, everybody's like, yo, them dudes was incredible. My own friends were like, yo, they killed it. And I was like, damn, I felt whack. And I was like, I think that, and actually it's like, fuck this shit. I'm not going to fucking practice, you know, try to,
Yeah.
I was living a different lifestyle. Now I always broke. If music came on and you knew me, if Apache came on, everybody would be like, oh shit, where's Kenny? not the B-boy community, but friends. They were like, he's going to do some crazy shit. It's in your heart. You don't, when you're a B-boy and you have this in your heart, you don't drop it and, oh, what am I going to do next? Let me play, let me get into sports, you know, or when you have this as a child, it's always there. It's like riding a bike, right? You never forget how to ride a bike. So, but I felt like giving up, and I was like, man, I'm slow. I'm heavy. I was about $165, 165 pounds. I was heavy. I was hurt from old injuries in the 80s. I had a fractured hip that I didn't even know about. I found out couple years after that, I fractured my hip in the 80s, but I never went to the doctor because the x-ray showed it, but it healed naturally and messed up. But one day I was like, man, I know how to break, man. In my mind, I was like, I can do this shit. And that's when I started revisiting my content. What did I know how to do? And how can I improve what I already have? Don't try to do flares and do everything that they're doing now. How can you exist right now in this community where everybody's doing it way faster, way stronger, you know, and you're quote unquote old school. And that was the inspiration. And I started believing in myself little by little. And the more I practice now I'm getting into the art practice in the 90s. In the 80s, it was like the word practice, but in the 90s, I was like, okay, you got to commit to this training. You got to commit time, and you got to get into your mind, and you got to explore. And that's the art of breaking. The exploration is the art. That's the art of breaking, is when you search until you can't anymore and you finally find one thing that's great. That's when you're living the art of breaking. So I started building on my old concepts, and I said, well, if I don't know how to do great air moves, what can I do in the air? If I don't know how to do great spinning moves, what can I respond to with a spin? So I got all the categories, and I had moves in those categories, and I knew I would get beat with those moves by an expert of them, but I knew I had to have them. So I kept on looking at everything that breaking was and how to expand on and do the best with my body and my creativity and who I am. So the gesturing, the little subtle little things in between movements, I knew they were valuable because I didn't see that many people doing them. A lot of people were really focused on execution. So I was trying to be more creative with my personality, the Muggsy, all that stuff. I was trying to be, doing stupid shit like hit you in the head, put the knot. I was just trying to be communicating to make sure people understood what I was doing. And I just kept on practicing. And the thing was, I had more. It's not like I had the best moves, but I had a lot of moves. So that in a circle is valuable. You can have 10 great moves, but after 10, if the circle's going on and you got to keep battling, what you going to do? So my thing that I did really good was from getting more and more moves in different categories, I just had more moves. I wasn't better than anybody in a sense, but that combination of character and, flavor, what I'm saying? Like and the music connection, I think it was very powerful at that time in the 90s. And by 97, in the early 90s coming, I was like, I sucked. And it took me a couple of years to really lock in. But once I locked in, I was making up a different move every other day. Like seriously, a combination or a move. I was just adding shit, stacking. And it helped in the circles. And I built my name really on behalf of circles. I didn't enter contests. I wasn't a contest B-boy. But when I showed up to wherever I showed up, I put that work in, what I'm saying? I stayed in the fire, regardless, win, lose, or draw. And I think that's what resonated. And then people said, I remember going to Germany, be like, yo, you old, you was in Beach Street. I remember I went to the one jam, and this is early 90s, Hanover, Battle of the Year, one of those. Yeah. When they first started, some dudes looked at me, they were looking at me like, really? You old. Yeah, and I felt stupid. I was like, damn, man. But I was breaking, I was getting down, but I wasn't like, everybody was into this other shit, and people had respect and everything, and they didn't say it in a bad way, but I was like, that shit rubbed my ego. I was like, fuck that shit. I'm good too. What the fuck? So that practice shit, it gave me a fire, man. It gave me a spark. The spark is important. When you got that spark, you better grab it. When you feel it, you better go for it, man, because it's not always going to be there,
Take me to the battle against Style Elements at the B-Boy Summit. Mm-hmm. You and Flowmaster,
yeah.
Because he was around that time, right?
Real Easy Rock, yeah, it was around that time. It was a bunch of us, different guys from California chapter, and then some of us from New York. Yeah, it was fun, man. We were breaking on like this, like the floor was interesting because it was like mosaic style tiny tiles, hard, but it was smooth. It was just fun,
But I felt what you said just before that you have like a lot of moves. You were doing like short rounds, bam, 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 sharp rounds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's a circle perspective. See, you don't empty your gun out quick. You know what I'm saying? You got your jacket. You open your jacket. You maybe got your little 22 caliber. You got your 357. But you know what you got. It's like a hand of cards. You're playing cards. You know what you got in your hand. But the idea is to know when to throw what you have in your hand. You got that ace or whatever. So once again, I knew that I didn't feel up to par because of my physical abilities. I knew that I couldn't do certain things that most of the audience loved, but I knew that if I had more, I could I can get beat up for a little while, but then I can fight back later. So the little rounds were important for stamina. They were important for time. It's not like, okay, you have 5 rounds to battle that crew. No, It's like, yo, this shit is on. Who's gonna be in that circle? Who's gonna survive that circle? And that mentality with short rounds was important. Yeah, a lot of my rounds weren't that great, but at least I was not repeating, and I wanted to keep, and then you start normal audiences can tell if you did something twice. After a while, like, oh man, I've seen him do that already. You don't have to be a b-boy or b-girl to really see.
Yeah,
It's
true.
like you're watching something, you're like, ah. So the tradition of being in the circle from as a kid, you don't repeat. You want to keep impressing. You want to show your skills, So, I mean, and look, those guys are dope. They were unique, interesting. Like there was many crews in the 90s that were extremely creative and interesting and different. Style elements being one of them. So to be able to have those exchanges is dope, and it's dope for everybody to watch now, to reflect on that time period, because as we have spoken about, it's a different time now, and everything is really put in a package now, in a certain area and way. So
do you feel like I'm not talking exactly the same version, but let's say 2020 version of Frosty Freeze could win b-boy events?
Some people would pick Frosty, yeah, just because he's Frosty. What Frosty had, and see, this is a good question, because Frosty never really, when I danced with Frosty he was like a hero in my neighborhood. Like I learned so much from him, from his presence, not teaching and teaching about. I was taught by Frosty without him teaching. We all learned so much from him because of his personality and his character. That was valuable. The audience is always, no matter what he did, the audience is always going to be smiling because they love Frosty. So that in this day and age would be really something that a lot of people as audiences or crowds, not judges, that's an energy that you can't, that's not a, he was physically incredible in a sense, but it was his personality. So one thing about Frosty that I always talk about is that the reason why a lot of people in the art respect Frosty's, you're looking at probably the best example of the first generation style, a good example of it. And Frosty never really evolved after that. So every time you saw Frosty Freeze dance in the 90s, he was doing what he did in the 80s. He never practiced to get different moves. So you saw vintage Frosty Freeze until the day he left. Every time he danced, you saw the template of what you, if you like,
which is amazing, like, actually.
If you're 15 and you're imagining what it was like in the Bronx or in Harlem, and you look at Frosty, you're getting one of the better examples. I mean, and with respect to the first b-boys before him too, but the only first b-boys I saw were from my neighborhood in Uptown Manhattan, Harlem. So I can't really speak on the first generation of Bronx b-boys, but Frosty had, he learned from the people that taught Frosty. They were Bronx, Manhattan. Peace to my man Sundance and the dudes, Rock City crew. You know what I'm saying? So they're the guys that were going back and forth to the Bronx and Manhattan, that lived in Manhattan, but they were part of that beginning experience of the birth of what would become hip hop culture. So Frosty, he would appeal to large audiences to this day if he still entered. Would he win? Maybe not. But he would appeal. Even in losing, he would gain an audience of followers and people that loved him because he's just that, that soul.
And yeah, man, I was really curious about that.
Yeah,
because actually, man, me being from a totally different generation, I was looking at Frosty and I was like, shit, man, there is like some details in his dance that are just amazing. But of course, you need to have some eye to understand that. I'm gonna talk again about the same guy because in the last podcast that I did with Oscar, he told me, I don't know if you're into boxing. He told me about because Oscar is a locker, but he's also a boxing coach, and he told me about the Roy Jones Jr. effect, because he had like a lot of speed when he was young, but once he lost that speed, because he started boxing when he was like older, he didn't have tools enough to have like success in the last years of his career.
That's right, I remember that.
And so we're talking about that because of some kind of quality of movement notion, and about the fact that if you have tools enough, you can dance longer. And I was like, fuck, but I cannot picture someone in the locking community who got that, but in b-boying, yes, Ken Swift got that. And I feel that the fact that you have all those tools give you the possibility to still get down today and, rock seriously.
Well, once again, everybody young gets old. And I said this years ago on media. I was like, because there was this surge of b-boys saying, yo, we the new shit. We the new shit. And I was like, that's cool. But one day a young dude is going to come to you and say, we the new shit. So everybody young gets old. The thing that never, that the blessing is about appreciation and a connection to music. And I would not be existing at all. Like the music, I'm always going to reflect on that, because that never is going to wear and tear. That's something it's spiritual. It's inside you. You're going to lose speed. You're going to lose strength. But when you got style is infinite. It's like, you got it. That's going to be to the day. Look, in general, I'm going to dance forever. This is until I leave this planet. Conceptually, I'm always going to dance, because that's something that, explaining physical ability and just having rhythm and soul and loving music, that's never going to die. You take that with you. You know what I mean? That's internal. So it's a big deal. Yeah.
Is there some moves that you do now that you feel that you're doing better than back in the days, because you have like more maturity and?
I think I've been doing this for a very long time. So I think my dancing is way better now than it ever has been. Did I say breaking in a sense? But I say my connection it's experienced and I'm comfortable. Sometimes I don't bring music to do a judge solo. Whatever you throw on, I'm going to go.
Respect.
I don't choreograph.
It's not the case. It's not the case for everybody.
I don't choreograph anything and do tap dance and shit steps, to impress people. And a lot of times I fail. And, a lot of my judge solos suck. And that's my best critic is me, my worst critic, whatever. But, that's the thing. It's you got to just go for it. And it's like, I think the dancing it's like seasoned, it's like when you marinate something, you let it sit and it soaks into, the flavor that soaks into you. So I think that, my still love for music allows me to be comfortable, and I do push the envelope. Like in the beginning of the year, I was, I've been hurt for many years, and I people that are around me know that I've been busted up, my knee and my ankle, everything the last 7 years. So, but I still push the envelope and I try hard because I want people to like what I do. That's part of the essence. You want to get a little bit of attention and people to like you. So in the beginning of the year, I was training. I was, before this all popped off with this pandemic, and I was starting to train more. I was trying to heal my knee up harder. I didn't want to have surgery again. And I was training and I was getting consistent and I was feeling good, and I was like, but then everything kind of bam. But, dancing is always dancing. And, like, once again, I play music all day here.
Really?
Yeah, all day.
By playing music, you mean spinning or playing an instrument?
Mostly I put Spotify on and I just put artists that I love. But I got my turntables right here. I mean, we have our nights where we'll spin, I'm with my girlfriend and we love to play records, man. Like we do this thing where we'll just randomly just pick a record out, roulette, just pick a record and play it, and let it spin. And then there's times that I'll practice, I like to cut breaks every now and then, but I just like urban contemporary. I like soul, disco. I like all that stuff, that feel good stuff. I don't spin. Like if I was to spin, I would spin real contemporary adult cool out shit from the 70s and 80s, but music is the key. I play music all day and that's what it will be like, so, but like, I'm also still trying to I train every day. You know, I live in a tiny little space. we have a small space, and we're blessed. Trust me. But I can't really go off in here. I can't break. I did a solo last month for Monster Energy, you know, for Crush Quarantine, and I posted it up. It's on my pages. And I did a little quick footwork round and got busy, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not trying to practice there and bang my head on a on a couch or some
Of course.
shit. You know what I'm saying? But I train every day, man. I can't, you know, I'm stretching. I'm trying to just maintain and be optimistic. But you know, like, and also I've been, you know, I've talked about this with my girl, and you know, and it's like there was a period of sadness that I went through when this all started. I was so sad. I couldn't understand what was happening to me. I was just like, you know, it's just like sad. And I talked about it, you know, with my friends, and you know, and I was just like, I felt weak. I didn't have any inspiration. I was like, you know, we were all just finding out what was happening in the world, and this sad story of so many people, you know, becoming, you know, dying, you know what I'm saying? And people's families, you know, and everybody's like, yo, let's dance. You know, I was like, I just felt no energy. And I was really confused, and I felt like crying a lot. I was just like, what the hell is this? And the last few weeks I've started to, something is coming in, and I'm starting to feel like a lot of people are teaching, and I was like, how can I teach? Can't teach. What am I going to like, I didn't have any fire. I was like, and I still, you know, I'm still kind of like really questioning my mind and my mind state. Like, I don't want to ask people for money and do all these crazy things, or do the classes, you know, like, but at the same time, I do think that it's very important for me personally to get back into the feeling. That's why the music has always helped. And, you know, I'm starting to really consider some new ideas, you know,
Dope.
and creative ideas. But it was a period of time where I was just like, man, I didn't know what the future held. I have grown children, you know, I have kids.
Yeah.
In New York, you know, I was worried. I was like, what is happening? You know,
So
like,
you
I
were
can't
sad
talk.
because you were worried?
The situation. I was sad of the reality. I've never experienced this in my life. None of us have.
It's crazy,
And
man.
there were so many question marks, and then so much information that I couldn't, you know, I'm not a scientist. You know, we're all not doctors. And, and I was just like, the more I heard, I was like, what the heck is going on? And it was concern. It wasn't too much worry, but it was there. I don't like to worry. I like to be concerned. Worry is stressful. It'll get you sick, you know, but I was really, really concerned, especially for my son in New York, you know, my daughters. But, you know, little by little, just staying active, starting a routine, but you know, being optimistic is been helping. And
they
you know,
good.
Everything, yeah.
They good. Your son is all right. You have a job. He can work at home, or because the situation in New York is fucked up.
Well, look, man, my son is 16. He's not.
Oh, okay.
He's in school on the internet school.
Yeah.
Like all the schools, nobody's going to school. Everybody's. You know,
yeah, like here.
And he's, you know, my daughters work, you know, and they're trying their best to survive, and they're older. But my son is the one that he's a minor. He's not out there in the world working yet.
Okay.
And he's home with his mom, and you know, it's what is he thinking? You know, I talk to him every day, but you know, like, it's like, what is a young person going through nowadays? You know, this is something that when you're young, it affects you because you don't have any experience of anything prior. But as a grown adult, you're like, what just happened? The world turned upside down, you know? So, but artistically, I think we all internally need to protect our soul, our spirit, our body, our mind. We need to really take care of our temple, you know, so where we can, you know, be accessible to our loved ones with positive faith and strength. And I think that's the key. And the routine helps, you know, getting up in the day, having a routine, having a structured day to where you confront certain areas of health and mind and spirit, meditation. You know, we got to get through this together, man. And it's not easy, man, staying home. I'm not going outside. I'm not walking the streets. It's not my thing right now. I'm good. I love my life. I'm not trying to take any chances. Like, people have theories. I'm trying to protect myself and my loved ones. You know what I'm saying? And I can't protect them if I'm not protecting myself. You know, it starts here with the person. So, you know, I'd rather be safe than sorry, basically, than be an idiot riding my bike. You don't think I want to get on my bike right now? I live right next to a mountain. I ride up to Griffith Park every day when I can, when I'm not traveling. I love being in the outdoors. You think I don't want to go out? I do, but I'm not going to risk my life and anybody else's life.
Yeah,
I'm going to take it easy and just focus, structure yourself. You know, this is a message to everybody, whoever listens, man. Just stay occupied with a positive mind, man. Don't forget to smile. You know, it can always be worse. You know,
sure.
This is a beautiful thing, and thank you for inviting me to be on this, man. It's a
Man,
good way to
a pleasure,
also vent.
man.
It's a good way to vent energy, you know, and revisit history and the present, you know, the past and present combined. You know?
For sure, man.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. And actually, man, I was like you. The first months and a half, I was just going out to buy food. That's it. Because even if I live in a neighborhood where there is like nobody, I live nearby the beach. I could go and take a walk to the fucking beach, but I didn't feel comfortable because every day I was reading stories of like doctors that couldn't see their childs because
Wow.
you know, because of their jobs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And who the fuck I am to go out there and pretend that nothing is happening, man.
Yeah. Can always be worse, man. There's a lot of people suffering, man. You know, universe willing, you know, over time, it's gonna get better, man. But there's a lot of people going through serious shit right now, man.
It's fucked up, man. It's fucked up, but let's stay positive.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, it was a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah,
okay?
Thank you. Yeah, man, it was here also. And once again, you know, stay safe and
you too.
You know, eat good. You know, thank the universe that we have food, all of us, some of us, and whatever you have, be grateful for what you have. You know what I'm saying? And just believe it's going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? Don't fall victim to depression. Don't fall victim. You know, don't fall into the trap of what this could be with the media and the world. You know, take care of yourself. You know, when you take care of yourself, it uplifts your energy and your vibration. So just take care of yourself and get through it. You know, that's it. That's all we can do. And let's continue these things. Bro, I'm going to be checking out some of your other stuff. Maybe I can connect you with some people.
Of
Maybe,
course.
you know, other people from, you know, Zulu Gremlin is out here next to me. If you want to talk to him anytime. Flow Master is another guy. He's over here. I'm in LA, of course.
Let's do it.
So, you know, if you have any ideas down the line, man, reach me. No problem.
Man, this shit, I'm going to continue this for a long time. It's not because of the lockdown or I was about to do this like years before, but I couldn't. And it happened now, had to adapt, but here I am and it's going to stay. So of course, man, all those guys, it's my pleasure to have them, but tell them that I'm kind of...
No, I'm not going to tell them
straight
anything.
up.
You're a busy man and you got a lot of things you're doing. So I'm glad for that. And whenever if you ever have an idea, reach me. No problem, bro.
Of course.
Love to connect my family.
Peace, man. Thank you.
All right, my brother. Take care, man.
You too. Peace.
All right.